Tomorrow morning, every refrigerator disappears. No cold shelf, no leftovers waiting politely, no milk getting another week. By tonight, your kitchen is not a room, it is a countdown. You probably think the old answer is simple: salt, smoke, ice, drying, pickles, fermentation. And yes, those mattered, but they were not just tricks for keeping food. They were ways of changing the schedule. Before refrigeration, food had a clock. Milk had a short clock. Meat had an urgent clock. Cooked food had a leftover clock. Fruit had a ripening clock. Grain, roots, dried beans, salted fish, smoked meat, pickles, jam, and cheese moved on slower clocks. And every household had to live around those clocks. That is the old human system we are opening today. The refrigerator did not replace one preservation trick. It replaced a whole rhythm of buying, cooking, eating, sharing, storing, preserving, and getting cold. Start with the clock inside the food. Not a literal clock, a practical one. A refrigerator makes those timelines feel blurry. You put food behind a door, and the urgency softens. Before that door, the timeline was part of daily life. If something would spoil quickly, you bought less of it. If it needed to be eaten today, you cooked it today. If there was too much, you shared it, sold it, fed it to animals, dried it, salted it, cooked it again, or turned it into something else. The old kitchen was not only a place for recipes, it was a control room for perishability. A shelf was a decision. A cellar, a jar, a basket in a cool corner, all decisions. People watched the air, the heat, the moisture, and the clock. They checked lids, jars, baskets, bruises, cracks, insects, and time. A food storage place was not just where food went. It was where someone kept asking, will this last until we need it? Different foods wanted different conditions. Some wanted dryness, some wanted coolness, some wanted darkness, some needed to breathe, some needed to be sealed away, some needed to be checked because one bad piece could threaten the rest. That is why the old food system was full of little inspections. Look, smell, touch, move, use first, save later. Change before it fails. The refrigerator did not remove all of that attention, but it hid a large part of it behind one door. This is why shopping could be different. A modern household can buy a week of cold food and ask the refrigerator to hold the future. But without that cold box, the future had to be smaller. You might go to market more often. You might buy what matched the day. You might plan around heat, season, distance, money, and how many mouths were actually in the room tonight. Food planning was not just, what do we want? It was, what must be used first? Now look at the famous preservation methods again. Drying changes the clock by removing water. In sunny places, sun and wind could do part of the work. In places without enough strong sunlight, people built drying spaces, used heat, and sometimes used smoke. Drying can make food last longer and travel more easily, but it does not keep a grape as a grape. It turns the grape into something else. Salt and smoke change the clock in another way. Salt draws out moisture. Smoke brings heat, drying, and smoke compounds. Together, in the right conditions, they can help meat or fish last longer. But again, this is not a pause button. Fresh meat does not simply remain fresh meat. It becomes salted meat, smoked meat, cured meat, food with a new flavor, a new texture, a new use, and often a new amount of work. Pickling and fermentation are even more obvious. A cucumber becomes a pickle. Cabbage becomes sauerkraut. Milk can become cheese or yogurt. Fruit becomes preserves. Grain becomes beer or bread. Microbes, salt, acid, sugar, jars, crocks, and time all join the kitchen. This is the first caveat. Preserved is not the same as fresh. That does not mean worse. Dried fruit, smoked fish, salted meat, pickles, cheese, jam, and fermented foods are not failed versions of fresh food. They are successful versions of a different plan. But they do not give you the exact same power as a refrigerator full of ingredients, leftovers, milk, meat, soft produce, and half-used containers waiting for later. Preservation did not just fight spoilage. It changed the food so the schedule changed too. So the old food system had two big moves. Use the food before its clock runs out, or change the food so it gets a different clock. Then came cold. Cold is strange because it feels like magic when it works. It does not ask you to turn the milk into cheese or the cucumber into a pickle. It lets the food remain closer to itself for a while. But before electric household refrigerators were common in many American homes, cold was not just a setting, it was infrastructure. A household might have a cellar, an underground storage space, an ice house, or an insulated icebox. These were not all the same, and they were not available to everyone in the same way. But the icebox shows the hidden system clearly. Imagine winter water freezing on a lake or pond. Imagine workers cutting that ice into blocks. Imagine the blocks packed into an ice house with sawdust or straw, saved for warmer months. Imagine a wagon moving through town. Imagine a card in a window telling the iceman how much ice the household needs. Imagine the block going through the door into an insulated box in the kitchen. That box is not private cold. It is the last stop on a public ice route. The cold in the kitchen has a route behind it. A lake, a season, workers, storage, delivery, a wagon, a payment, a window card, a drip pan, a block melting slowly inside a cabinet. So, here's the second caveat. Ice existed. But that was not the same thing as private cold, sitting quietly in every kitchen, ready whenever you opened a door. The refrigerator took an outside cold chain and made it feel like a household object. That is the modern compression, the food clock, the preservation plan, the cold route. All of them moved into one humming box. Clock plus plan plus route became fridge. And that changed what later meant. Before refrigerators, later was not a shelf. Eat it, share it, sell it, salt it, smoke it, pickle it, dry it, cool it with ice, if you had access to ice. With a refrigerator, later becomes easier to imagine. A meal can be interrupted and still become tomorrow's lunch. A shopping trip can cover more than one day. A sauce can be opened and not finished. A child can ask for something later, and later can actually exist. Open a refrigerator, and you are not just looking at food. You are looking at postponed decisions. This bowl can wait. This milk can wait. This meat can wait. This fruit can wait. This sauce can wait. This half onion can wait. This meal can wait until tomorrow, when everyone is tired. That is why the old system is easy to forget. A modern refrigerator looks like one machine. But inside it are older systems compressed together. The market schedule, the root cellar, the drying rack, the smokehouse, the salt barrel, the pickle crock, the fermenting jar, the ice house, the ice wagon, the window card, the neighbor who could use the extra food today, the cook who knew what had to be used before sunset. All of that becomes one quiet box humming in the corner. The refrigerator does not make food immortal. It does something more ordinary and more powerful. It gives food a little more time in its original form. And that extra time changes the human schedule around it. So, tomorrow, when you open the refrigerator, imagine the older version of that cold. Not one door, a market morning, a basket, a cellar, a row of jars, fish drying, meat smoking, cabbage fermenting, ice cut in winter, a wagon in the street, a cart in a window, a block of ice melting into a pan, a cook deciding what must be eaten first. Every modern convenience replaced an old human system, and the refrigerator did not just keep food cold, it made food wait for us.